In every season of MasterChef, there's always that one contestant who's always stirring up drama, either fighting with other contestants or with the judges if that's not a big enough game for them. Just like this contestant right here. Remember in season 10 when Evan really got screwed by his own arrogance?
Buenos Aires, eating, drinking, going to asadores. So I've got extensive experience with these kind of like Latin flavors. 60 minutes is decades of time for me with these proteins, so I'm totally feeling like I'm gonna nail this challenge.
So, it all went down during the Mystery Box Challenge when Alessandra Ambrosio was invited as the guest judge.
Loving mother and a former Victoria's Secret runway icon. Please give a warm welcome to Alessandra Ambrosio.
Seeing a supermodel, I'm speechless.
Now, she was not there to judge the dishes, but just to inspire the contestants, and, well, she made it just in time for the secret ingredient to be revealed.
Tres.
Oh, wow.
Yes!
Wow.
Now, this time, the mystery box contains staple proteins from Latin cuisine: red snapper, prawns, octopus, skirt steak, and swordfish.
Proteins that are staples in Latin American have red snapper, prawns, octopus, skirt steak, and swordfish.
Plus, to honor Alessandra, the contestants had to create a Latin-inspired dish. Some of the contestants had worked with these ingredients before, or at least experimented with Latin cuisine, so they were pretty confident going in.
American-inspired dish is right up my alley. Do a pepper too. I majored in Spanish and I'm completely fluent. It's a great chance for me to really show the judges the frontrunner in this competition.
However, others let their past experience turn that confidence into overconfidence.
Buenos Aires, eating, drinking, going to asadores. So I've got extensive these kind of like Latin flavors. 60 minutes is decades of time for protein, so I'm totally like I'm gonna nail this challenge.
Okay, buddy, I know you think you know it all, but how about taking all that with a dash of humbleness, huh? But guess what? His attitude only got worse when Joe and Aaron decided to give his station a visit.
And a little salsa verde.
How are you gonna cook the skirt steak?
I'm gonna sear it off.
In what?
Aquí.
Why not a grill plate or a siren pan? You wanna make the best dish possible, you gotta use the...
They retain heat better, and they also give you a better
The first
pan.
steak I cooked in my apron was cooking non-stick.
You guys saw that too, right? If that's not being cocky, I don't know what is. Evan thought he knew best and refused to take any help, even from the judges who were there specifically to offer guidance. But wait till you hear what he said next.
Well, we didn't say it was that good. We said we just had to get
Well,
an
if it
apron.
wasn't that good, I wouldn't be here.
Okay,
And what was Aaron's response? Check it out yourselves.
you don't have to bust our balls, okay?
I'm here to show you what I can do. I'm comfortable with these ingredients. Ingredients on a regular basis. Well over 100 pounds of skirt steak in my day.
Good God, it's like all he knew was how to be rude. Dude, we get it, you won the apron and all, but you're still episodes away from the actual trophy, let alone the finale, so why don't you sit down for a bit? I mean, the judges were beyond disrespected. So before they left the station, Joe had one thing to say.
Remember something, as in life in the master kitchen, the dole out will come back at you.
Evan wasn't gonna let a few words stop his plans of running his mouth all day.
I definitely don't want to eat. I know what I'm doing. I don't need the cast iron pan. Knocking this out and impressing the judges.
Soon enough, the time was up, and the judges bid farewell to Alessandra. Unbeknownst to her, this is the smartest decision she made in her entire life. Because who knows if she'd walked out of there in one piece after having to spend 5 more minutes with Evan. Either way, that was the cue. It was finally time to sample the dishes.
Jamie, wow, you used everything.
The judges had made their decision, and the first person they called out was Evan.
Good job, Evan.
Thanks, guys. I'm comfortable with these proteins. I love Latin flavors. This is the I love to eat and cook for my friends and family. So I'm feeling...
Now, this dude decided to do more than what was necessary. He presented 2 dishes: Chipotle marinated steak with torched corn salad and snapper ceviche, and despite it flying in the face of the judge's advice, it seemed like his dish was impressive.
Visually, it pops.
It's a plate where the colors and visual speak of the flavor, so I feel like I can taste it by looking at it.
so much.
I mean, Evan got a bit lucky because the judges really enjoyed what he made.
We've got the acidity, we've got the saltiness on the cheese, and you've got the cook. Absolutely nailed.
The ceviche is also, in its balance and its sweetness, is really, really top notch, you know?
Thank you.
I absolutely love this dish. There's so much attention to detail from the way that you cut to make them uniform to the corn kernels. I love the acidity that just this whole dish. If I had to take you to
They did wish he had listened to them though, because his dish could have been perfect with a few adjustments.
the task on something, it's that you did it cast iron pan, which would have gotten you an even better sear. Next time, do me a favor and listen.
But, well,
Now, that would have been the case if only he kept his ego aside and listened to the judges. But it's Evan we're talking about here. The dude pays no heed to anyone. But just wait until you hear about my next pick. This guy had issues that far surpass just being an arrogant jerk. If you haven't figured out who I'm talking about by now, then let me help you out. So, it was the elimination round of episode 16, right? The MasterChef contestants were geared up for a pretty exciting challenge.
To show us what you can do with the world at your fingertips.
The MasterChef pantry is packed with the dream of working with. Grab up to 20 ingredients you want.
Nice.
Full access to the illustrious MasterChef pantry? Now that's a first for the show. And you bet they were gonna waste no time raiding that pantry.
To have my daughter see me lose the mystery box, I'm really fired up. So
With visions of culinary masterpieces, they eagerly filled their baskets with the finest and freshest ingredients.
55 minutes remaining. Now, stop the clock.
But just when they thought they had the competition in the bag, the judges dropped a bombshell twist.
Challenge that easy. Oh, God. Come on.
You each got to grab up to 20 of your dream ingredients, but technically, we never said who would be cooking basket. Tonight, we'll each be cooking with someone else's dream basket. And those ingredients you just picked out could soon be someone else's nightmare.
Okay, now that's what you call a twist. Tension sure was palpable as the chefs had to now adapt to the new basket. I mean, they had their ideas straight, but now it was all over the place. The situation was pretty devious if you think about it. And top it all, Sean had the power to decide how the baskets get shuffled around. Now, the other 4 chefs weren't exactly thrilled, especially David.
Chef Richard Blaze. Welcome.
Richard Blaze is in the building. I am excited. This favorite chef's on the planet.
If looks could kill, Sean would have been dead already. From the moment Sean reached his station, David was boiling with anger. That's just the tip of it. David's infamous temper burst forth in full force this time around, escalating the tension to new heights.
Got some shrimp, crab, flour, arm in here. This one is actually a good basket.
obviously.
He was dead set on impressing the judges with his culinary skills, particularly through his homemade pasta.
All right.
I knew that why you wouldn't give it to Brandy.
I know.
However, when he was handed Dan's basket brimming with a mishmash of Asian-inspired ingredients and a pack of smoked trout, it was like a fuse ignited.
What you're thinking?
I want to win Vegas first. I gave David the toughest basket.
Make a lot of sense, brother. I'm just saying you don't make sense.
The frustration boiled over as he directed a tirade of curses at Sean for assigning him the challenging basket.
It's a competition. You've been playing your strategies the whole time.
Idiot.
Personal attacks, David? You're gonna get mad like that? That's all right.
He was especially mad at Dan for selecting ingredients that seemed incompatible with his plans.
No, I mean, this idiot doesn't even get the and then I get this and he up. No, it's
His reaction was so intense that it was almost uncomfortable to witness.
David, you okay?
not at all.
Come on.
It's like, oh, smoked trout and some Asian stuff. just
Wow. David?
But his ego just wouldn't let him. And you won't believe what he did next.
He's in his own head. He's taking his apron off.
David's walking out.
David. 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 David, stay here. Come on. David. It worked. Bye, David. Peace out. That is not the...
That's a totally mature thing to do, right? Had it been Hell's Kitchen, Chef Ramsay wouldn't have wasted another second on keeping him on the show. But, well, we're talking about MasterChef here, and Chef Ramsay is known to take it slow and cool with the home cooks. Seeing David literally throwing in the towel and giving up, Chef Ramsay rushed after him in hopes of getting him back in the game.
Come in.
it's too late now.
6 years of working on this competition. Nobody's ever quit.
And I've never seen anyone get the shaft like this. This is crazy.
Okay, listen to me.
And after some pep talk, he eventually managed to persuade him to stay and continue cooking.
2, 3 individuals. You are good enough to do this. I am not going to let you walk out of this competition like that. You are better than that. I've got too much respect for you and what you've done and where you've come from in this competition. Through that door now.
Now, you might be wondering, what's the point? Why bother convincing someone who's clearly upset to keep going? And above all, let's not forget what he presented. It was a shame. And Chef Ramsay made sure everybody knew it.
Let's get straight to the point. You were dealt a dysfunctional card. Then you turn your back on this competition. All those challenges, all those competitions, endless hours in this kitchen to give it up. You off. How many times have you dealt dysfunctional cards and got rid of them?
Millions.
You do it for a living. So to watch that take place there, David, I'm going to be brutally honest. Depending on what you did to that plate, this could be the last time you cook inside the MasterChef kitchen.
Sounds like my fate is sealed.
I mean, this dude was asking for trouble all the way, and he needed a good scolding to be put in his place. Speaking of which, David wasn't the only one who needed a reality check. Christopher from season 6 was even worse. So here's what went down. In episode 9, the pressure was on, and the contestants were sweating bullets as they faced the elimination challenge. So what's on the menu, you ask? None other than one of Chef Ramsay's legendary dishes, and not just that, one that's been ordered over 300,000 times.
My world famous beef Wellington with potato puree and carrots.
I knew it.
If it wasn't the Wellingtons, then I don't know what it was gonna be. The cooks had to replicate Chef Ramsay's masterpieces to the T, and so they were given the chance of tasting it themselves.
Head into the restaurant and enjoy a sensational Gordon Ramsay dinner. Please, go ahead.
Thank you. Bon appetit.
Thank you, Chef.
Enjoy, Katrina, Stephen.
The home cooks took their seats in pairs, ready to taste and unravel the secrets behind this iconic creation.
Get to the stringy prosciutto, you get to the tough beef, the contrast surface areas. And this is a purely technique-based dish right now.
So, right after finishing up their meal, they headed straight to the kitchen. And guess what happened there?
The challenge begins. You will be cooking next to the person you chose to have dinner with tonight.
Alright, now let's talk about Christopher and Hetal. Hetal was purely vegetarian, so her knowledge on meat wasn't as great as Christopher, who was like a meat expert. So you'd think he'd nailed this challenge, right? But you're so wrong. You see, the contestants were paired up to cook right next to the person they just shared dinner with. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? But knowing these challenges, there was bound to be a twist just waiting to shake things up. But hey, for now, everyone was diving into Wellington.
You get your fillet seared. Beautiful sear. At the same time, in a pan next to it, reduce your red wine. Once your fillet's seared.
Now, Hetal took on the task of making her dish breath step at a time.
At a disadvantage stuff because you don't eat beef.
Correct.
How are you going to create something that you haven't had before?
I touched everything. I felt almost like Rain Man because they're smelling and squishing and pulling and inspecting.
Okay.
Well, it was a great plan, except she'd had forgotten one important thing on the pan.
It should be like burning hot for like 10 minutes.
Make sure you can hear it too, and you don't hear it because there's no fat pan.
Oh.
Meanwhile, the judges were waiting for the right time to drop a bombshell.
Traumatic enough. There's something else that you need to know. Not all of you will be bringing up your dish. When you served dinner earlier this evening, you were in fact forming for teams. You just didn't know it.
I bet no one was ready for that kind of test. Especially not Christopher. It was a high-stakes gamble. Win and you're safe from elimination, but lose and you're staring down the barrel of another challenge straight from Chef Ramsay. The pressure was on, and the entire fate of each team rested on choosing the right dish to send forward. It was a make-or-break moment that could determine who stayed and who would say their goodbyes.
My only concern then is, because your crepe looked, your potatoes are good,
the meat.
is the meat.
Christopher and Hetal were both worried about her filet, and yet they decided to go with Hetal's Wellingtons. So, when it was time to present their dish, Hetal as planned, Hetal had her Wellington in tow. And this is how things went down.
This is actually Hetal's Wellington, but
What?
yeah.
Chef Ramsay was totally blown away. Given that Hetal was a vegetarian, there's no way she tasted her Wellington before presenting it to him, so chances of her Wellington being decent were pretty low at first glance. But look what happened. She managed to get it right. At this point, there was only one question that was on Chef Ramsay's mind. What happened to Christopher's Wellington?
Hetal didn't even taste it.
He forgot to get his sauce in the cup.
Apparently, he wanted to present the whole dish without missing out on a single bit of it. And since he couldn't get his sauce ready in time, he decided to ditch the presentation altogether. And if that wasn't enough, Christopher thought it was the right time to boast about his dish and try to outshine Hetal.
It's mine, because I would wager that my Wellington's probably the tastiest here.
Really?
I was just so scared to serve you.
Now, this piqued Chef Ramsay's curiosity. After building up so much hype around the dish, Chef Ramsay wanted to dig in and taste what Christopher had whipped up. And the dude couldn't wait to have the judges taste his dish.
Do it.
At your stations in the kitchen, you're going to find everything that you need to make a cup of that dish that you just ate.
When the challenge begins, you will be cooking next to the person you're with tonight. Your 60 minutes starts now.
All that flexing knowing what's gonna happen next is super embarrassing. And yes, Christopher, you're right, you shouldn't have thrown Hetzel under the bus. I mean, you really didn't have to pull her effort down to list yours up, but guess how it turned out to be. After all that talking he did, Christopher's attempt at a Wellington brought out a chuckle from Chef Ramsay, and not in the good way.
Oh dear, what is that?
Oh my.
I mean, the reaction to his dish was honestly next level.
That's bigger than you.
It's like family style.
How's that possible? It looks like a cushion from the MasterChef lounge. What have you done?
Imagine boasting about your dish to the point that you actually raise the hopes of the judges, only to serve something bigger than your whole face. Like it doesn't even look like a Wellington at this point.
Bloody hell. Goodness me.
I mean, arrogance is man's biggest and worst enemy, and Christopher needed to learn that fast. But that wasn't even the worst part.
Steak in here.
It's in the middle.
I have to feel for the steak like a landmine. It's in the middle.
Yes, sir. You know, like the potatoes came out good. I know.
Bloody
Anyways,
hell.
Yes.
Pastry's raw.
Buddy, the main star of the dish wasn't mashed potatoes, but the beef itself. What's more, you made the pastry so huge that it barely even fit on the plate, and to top it all off, it was completely raw. Christopher was beyond embarrassed.
Sorry, Chef. I really am.
And now, turning to Hetal's creation, the mood shifted.
Oh my God. I thought it was gonna be overcooked. I thought it was gonna be overdone.
Beautifully.
Oh my God.
It's
Okay,
really-
it needs to taste good. Is it good?
Good? No. It's delicious.
It was damn near perfection served on a plate. The relief on Hetal's face was palpable, as Chef Ramsay praised it as the best veggie beef Wellington he had ever tasted. And then there was Christina, who's usually the most easygoing of the bunch. Except when it's time for dessert, that's when the claws really come out. But this time, she just couldn't stand Christopher's behavior.
Yeah, I'm...
No. It's my turn to talk.
Yeah, but... Exactly, but that's the thing.
You wanted us to taste
No,
this?
I wanted to, if I had executed, yes, I would want you to taste it, but I didn't.
You said you're not gonna get to taste mine just because I left the sauce.
That's the reason. That was something I was...
Okay,
I got
here's
it.
the thing.
I'm sorry.
To be quite frank, you're that guy that has so much to say, but you haven't been able to put it on a plate, and you gotta get your technique and your skill up before you can start running. Will you make eye contact with me?
Yeah, sorry.
And I agree 100%. In the end, Christina credited Hetal for rescuing Christopher from a disaster of his own making. But Christopher didn't learn his lesson yet. Far from it. Despite everything that went down, in the end, he still believed that he was just having a bad day. That was something, huh? But hey, don't go anywhere because I've saved the best pick for last. Not that this next chef is last. Just want to make sure you're paying attention. When we're talking about cocky, arrogant, and just plain jerks of a cook, there's no way Mark from season 9 doesn't make the list.
14 cooks in America, and I feel like I deserve buddy. Nice. I might be on the surface a 19-year-old who looks like he needs it, but I will tell you what, coming from such a strong culinary background, you know, my parents being chefs, mentored by a restaurateur like Joe Bastiana, I know what I'm doing, and I couldn't feel more confident with what's happening.
It was episode 11, and the contestants were tasked with another team challenge, splitting the group into the red team and the blue team. So, once again, it was all about teamwork once again.
Teams of 7. Julia and SJ, because you won that 5 ingredients challenge, tonight you both are the captain. Please come and join us.
Imagine this scenario. The blue team, led by SJ, opted to operate their kitchen using a democratic approach.
So I'm definitely thinking the New York strip. You know, the fat right here, we can render it off roast, and then we can get the marbling on there too, get a nice hard sear.
We're gonna do filet.
So picture this. Everybody was brainstorming ideas for what to cook, just throwing in their 2 cents like it's no big deal, right? Typical team stuff. And then, out of the blue, Mark, our resident tech wizard, stepped up with this absolute gem of an idea.
You do like a roasted asparagus, roasted peewees, and a New York strip with a béarnaise. I mean, I'm very safe with egg sauces.
Okay, I love that. Perfect.
Break.
All right.
Not gonna lie, the confidence was almost embarrassing to watch. And not to mention there was a catch as well.
15, 20 minutes.
Perfect.
Mark was sure he could get it done in time by cutting some big corners. However, the judges caught wind of his antics.
Mark,
Yo.
you think it's a good idea to cook your béarnaise like that aggressively over that?
Absolutely.
How about a double boiler?
Made it better over this way. It's faster, a double boiler.
They tried to intervene, explaining to him that his approach was flawed and that the sauce wouldn't be cooked properly or ready in time. But that wasn't all. Drawing from their own culinary experiences, they offered advice, but Mark, he was in no mood to listen.
It takes too long.
You have plenty of time. Do you want to make it right, or do you want to
I gotta make it
wrong?
right this way. This is the way my father taught me, and I'll continue to do it forever.
But Mark, seriously,
Yes,
you
sir.
come from a restaurant. You know that you do things the right way.
Right.
This shouldn't be a time for shortcuts.
Any brunch service I've been a part of, with all due respect to the true technique, this is how I've done it.
Right and the wrong way to do it.
Absolutely.
And you're telling me at 19, you're gonna reinvent Bernays?
I'm not saying anybody's wrong or one rack technique is better than another, just that this is my own.
All right.
Unfortunately, he decided to brush the advice off and stuck to his guns. And well, I think you can guess how that turned out for the blue team.
That you preferred. With 66% of the votes this evening, the winning team, congratulations, the red team! Well done, the red team. Not only are you safe from elimination, your dish will be featured in October's issue of Family Circle.
Winning team, head up to the balcony.
Thank you guys.
Losing team, please follow. Put on your black apron.
Yeah, they lost the challenge all thanks to Mr. I know what I'm doing. Tough break indeed. So, the blue team, right? They found themselves in the dreaded pressure test. And who was to blame for this unexpected turn of events? Well, none other than our dear friend Mark.
One job, to make this sauce to perfection. It just sucks that one kid, his know-it-all attitude, got us all sent to the pressure test. Same thing I tell my students, if you're not prepared to learn, you're in for a disaster.
During the fine dining challenge, he was strutting around like he owned the place, rubbing everyone the wrong way with his arrogant attitude. By the time they finished, the rest of the team was simmering with frustration. And guess what? Before they even had a chance to catch their breath, they were already throwing Mark under the bus, blaming him for their woes.
Mark, he thinks he know everything. He done learning. And then you know your parents have a minor doesn't mean you know everything. This is wrong.
But Mark, being Mark, decided to retort back.
Arrogance not listened to.
Mark, arrogance. Are you?
And Joe, he wasn't having it with either.
Remember that we made a deal. You were going to list together. We were going to take you to the finale. Well, you just decided to take your own road. You're in Master. If you are directed to do something properly, choose not to do it, then I don't know the right decision in investing my apron in you.
Ouch. It was like the universe was playing a cruel joke on them, and Mark was right in the center of it all. Anyway, sometime later, it was time for the pressure test. And for this test, they had to bring in a special guest.
Back, a member of our family, the amazing, talented Christina Tosi.
And since Christina was here to judge once again, you can guess what the challenge was all about.
Dessert. Cupcakes.
Yeah, when the judges brought in Christina to check out the cupcakes, she was all about perfection. Back in the day, she fell head over heels for sweets, so she wasn't cutting any slack for failed cupcakes or extending any time limits.
Personality and slicing through a cupcake. They're light and spongy in the center. Cupcake, they were one of the first things I ever made in my own kitchen back in Virginia. And if you get it wrong tonight, they might be the last thing you make in the MasterChef kitchen.
The home cooks weren't given much to work with in terms of baking and decorating supplies. That's why most of them played it safe and went for something simple. But Mark, he wanted to wow Christina, so he went all out with something fancy.
They're not child's play. They're modern, culinary masterpieces. There's color, there's personality, and
he went the fancy route, but that was a huge mistake because
he's in real trouble today.
Mark is cupcakes with strawberries right now. And he's
strawberry
making
water, right? He could start to leach out water all over your cupcake.
It's not what it needs to be.
He barely made it in time for judging, but luckily the judges didn't hold it against him and got down to business. If that wasn't enough, Mark totally messed up again. Guess why?
And mint cupcake.
Let's get in there, shall we?
But they're not all there.
Excuse me?
I don't have all my cupcakes in the box.
Wow.
That's right.
He was supposed to fill this box with cupcakes, but he couldn't even do that right. And get this, he made another mistake, only it wasn't a culinary one.
I'm not laughing.
I mean, seriously? Not a good move when the judges are already ticked off. And guess what, the ones he did manage to get in the box were not decent either.
It's a play on a cocktail that's at my mother's restaurant.
Based on the piping, it looks sloppy, right?
All in all, it's whipped to where it needs to be.
We're missing 5.
That's right. I was very rushed.
What is that in there? That's the strawberry?
Strawberry jelly and diced strawberries.
Strawberries are 25% water.
Yes.
And so what does water do to a sponge?
It
makes it soggy. But here's the big issue for
And Chef Ramsay was far from finished yet.
help you, you reject our help. You know, I'm not mentioning you, but you're becoming unteachable.
Of course not.
But Mark? He had the perfect or maybe not so perfect excuse for his behavior.
Having an edge above people as young as me translates into my arrogance.
But you're not prepared to listen and...
How about you act your age and actually take some accountability, huh? And Christina? She was definitely not a fan of those cupcakes.
Strawberry, lemon, mint, perfect sense. What I don't like is the presentation, technique. And that frosting, you can tell it's too wet, too much sugar there. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was time to see who'd leave, and it should be no surprise who's going home.
You had the worst cupcakes in the MasterChef kitchen, so we have to say goodbye.
Understood.
Mark, being headstrong.
Tough break for Mark, but hey, that's how the cupcake crumbles, right? Mark needed some time to grow, and it was clear he couldn't do that while remaining on the show. And just like Mark, this next contestant too had a ton of arrogance.
Our leadership.
Yup, that's Paige for you, the self-proclaimed culinary whiz MasterChef really could have done without. You see, Paige was so full of herself that her one single move tanked an entire team challenge. Yeah, all on her own. As a result, she found herself facing a pressure test, where the contestants had to recreate Aaron's grilled pork chop dish. Now, you'd think after the over-seasoning disaster earlier, she'd be pretty humble about this one, right? Well, you don't know, Paige.
Okay, I'm half Mexican, so I'm here with Mexican flavors.
Right. Being the youngest.
Despite her confidence, Paige's attempt to recreate the dish left a lot to be desired.
I think it's definitely undercooked.
Christina found Paige's pork chop messy and undercooked. And the sauce? Listen to this.
Sloppy, it's messy. It's like you just don't care anymore.
I definitely care.
Despite her smiley demeanor, Paige couldn't hide from the harsh reality. Her dish was a flop, and her confidence maybe a tad misplaced. It was clear that she had a lot to learn, and it just wasn't her time to be on the show. So that's a wrap on today's video of the most cocky chefs in MasterChef history. Now, I've got plenty of honorable mentions, like Ryan, Tali, and to some extent even Natasha. But who would you add to the list? Make sure to drop those names in the comments down below. And before you head out, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on my post notifications. And if you thought this video was crazy, then don't forget to check my post right here. It's even crazier.